Behind the Shades.
I'm Daisy Paige. You can find me on Facebook under Daisy Paige Author or Daisy Paige. I have two Facebook accounts. Um, also have a podcast myself now that I co-host on. I have MSA, which is a terminal rare condition, and so our podcast is about the MSA that we want to create awareness.
So take us through the podcast and tell us what are some of the things that you discuss and what type of message are you looking to get out with your podcast?
Well, with it being so rare, only 4 out of every 100,000 people are diagnosed with it in the U.S. So it's really, really rare. It's the second rarest autonomic disease there is. And it shuts down your autonomic systems that your brain has to think about because it comes from the brain. So it starts with your like circulatory system and your respiratory system, urinary system, digestive system, respiratory system. All those start shutting down until eventually you die.
I know this is the third time that you and I have had this conversation, and I know the very first time we met, you are someone that wanted to make sure that you left a legacy that you were very proud of, a legacy that you wanted to honor and make sure that people who were suffering from this also were able to share their story. Is that still one of the messages that you're looking to get out there these days, Daisy?
It it is, and I'm finding so many people that have the disease that are coming on my show and talking about it. So we're all leaving that legacy behind, because podcasts last forever, and that's why me and my co-host wanted to do this so that it could get out there and be more known, and people can leave a legacy. I have two books that I wrote, and I also donate proceeds from those to the charity researching for a cure. Um, a couple months ago, I had signed up for a clinical trial and I got accepted. And but then they found out that some a couple years back I had what we thought were seizures, and so they disqualified me. So I didn't get to make that happen. But I found out last week that I can sign up for any clinic because I was just trying to sign up for some nearby, but I can sign up for any of them in the U.S. So I started doing that, applying for every one of them. Like I'm gonna make one of these happen.
Are these clinical trials that are looking to um, improve the lifestyle and the welfare of those who suffer from MSA, or is this for some other type of research that you're looking to be a part of?
It's a research that they help to reverse the symptoms and hopefully cure the disease. So it'll be nice if I can get one of those. They do have some that are a placebo as well, so they're double blind and you don't know what you're going to get, which is one that I was accepted for was a double blind placebo. So it was the one. That's what the time feeling. I was so excited to get accepted, and then when I got disqualified, I felt like my whole world fell out from under me. So it wasn't a good feeling.
I can imagine how difficult that was because here you are continuing to fight. And as you're fighting, you're spreading your positivity, you're spreading your message, and you are looking to be an example to some people who may have a difficult time, just as you are, as you shared with me the first two times that we spoke, because this is a disease that's so rare that it impacts a small group of people, but the impact to that demographic of people is so large. So for those who may not know what MSA is, or maybe some of the changes that you have gone through, are you able to detail how this has impacted your life, especially recently?
Yes. Um, Back in January, I had surgery to um, place a suprapubic catheter, which is a catheter that goes directly from your abdomen into your bladder, and you have to get it changed still. So in February, I went to get it changed, and the nurse missed the bladder, and so I had internal bleeding, and nearly could have lost my life. They caught it before it became septic, but it was very dangerous. So I just recently had that surgery done again in July or June. I had her placed in July. That was okay. So I'm gonna have it changed one more time by a specialist, and after that, they're gonna do it in my home health that I'm on. So I'm on palliative care. Um, I just recently started choking a lot more because they did a swallow test and showed that the flap closes over your windpipe and it's closing slower than what it should. And so I have a little pocket right beside it, and it's kind of filling up before I can get it down, and it's really close to going over into my airway. Liquid, and it says it's pulling in the little puddle there, and it's just about to go into my airway. So sometimes I choke easily, and that's kind of scary. I don't like choking. Um, but I guess my mobility has really decreased. So I'm in the wheelchair more than I used to be.
I know that's something that you weren't necessarily looking forward to because when you had the book, the first one that you shared with me, and I remember you had such a beautiful story around it, and you're so proud of that moment, and here you are writing more books and continuing to appear, and you're sharing your journey. You and your co-host, who you mentioned is going through something very similar to you. When you're pulling from the support system and you see people around you who are gathering, who want to have the conversation with you, who want to listen to what you're saying, who's appearing on your show and who's sharing some of the things that they're going through. How important is that part of your journey where you know that there's people out there is looking to pull from your strength and to give you strength along this journey?
Well, it's kind of depressing actually because out of the 5 episodes that we have aired, they've the first one was David and I. We actually shared our story so people would know who we were. But then the other 4 episodes that have aired, they have all been um, caregivers of MSA patients that have passed away. So that part of it can kind of be depressing. But the one that's going to air this Friday is actually going to be the first patient that we've interviewed. And then we have more patients in line to be interviewed. But yeah, it's been hard of caregivers passed it. We called them MSA Angels. They have already passed on. You know, that's kind of depressing because it kind of makes you feel, it's inevitable for us, but we still, we still got to share it. It might be hard, but we got to get those stories out.
Used a beautiful term when you mentioned MSA Angels, and those are to continue to push the story and don't ever forget of those who have passed on from the physical realm and now they're living on a more spiritual level and definitely living on in the memories of others. How did that name come about and what does it mean to you on a emotional and perhaps spiritual level as well?
Well, the name came about because there is an actual Facebook group that is called MSA Angels, and it is for caregivers or people that have had family members to pass on. So it it just has a strong meaning to me because one day I may be one of those MSA Angels.
And I believe that if that day ever happens, whenever it happens, I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to definitely honor you as one of those magnificent angels because you have given so much. And I know that we've met over the last year and a half, maybe even 2 years. And I know your journey and you shared so much with me. And you made a very good point where you said that the podcast lives forever. And I want to highlight that because each episode definitely does live forever. And then you have the memories of those episodes being passed down from generation to generation to generation.
That's true.
Uh, Absolutely. So, what's something that you want to make sure gets passed down to the next generation on for you in your memory and in your accomplishments?
My quote still goes on, where I say, don't take advantage of those moments that you have. You can walk and do basic little things. You never know what's going to happen from 1 minute to the next hour to the next day to the next week or month or year. So take it and do everything you can and be proud and happy of what you can do. And remember those basic tasks that you do. You never know. You may change. You may change like it did for me.
So, one thing that I always want to ask you, and I don't believe I asked you this the last time that we spoke, but I definitely want to ask it now is with the MSA community, how important is that community to you and why?
It is very important. I tell you, a couple of days ago, and in one of the um, chats, that Facebook now has with groups, um, there was something that it bothered me for a couple of days until, or maybe it was, a couple of days before yesterday, but last night I said, okay, this has really been bugging me. Where I had been asking for somebody to come on the show and share their story, and this guy said, I have MSA, I can't. I don't have time. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have time? You know, and it bothered me. I said, well, that's why I had to reply to him and say, well, look, my host and myself have MSA, and I can't walk. I can't. I have a catheter. I told about my what I couldn't do, and I said we're all MSA crusaders. So let's share our stories and let's get um a legacy going to MSA, and hopefully one day find a cure, if not for us, for the others.
As
Haven't
we
heard haven't
and
heard
that
back from him yet.
well, hopefully this person will find it in their heart to join you, because you mentioned that you are all MSA Crusaders and you all are marching and walking and holding each other up towards a common goal and a journey. And I think sometimes, even though when I get sick, it doesn't compare, but I know sometimes when I get sick, I just want to be within myself. I want to be alone, and I don't necessarily want to discuss it with others. But for something like this, I believe that when I had a family member get sick, I wanted others to be aware of it, not necessarily because I wanted their business and the situation out there. I just wanted to make sure that, hey, if you're going through something like this, which can be potentially very severe, you're not alone. There's others who may have gone through it, who may have needed the courage at that time, but they didn't have the support system. Is that what you're looking at to kind of rally this group of people and say, we are not alone, we are still strong, we can still build each other up? Is that one of your goals?
Yes, and a couple weeks ago I started. Well, I had the denial from, or to go disqualified from the trial, and then I had some catheter issues and some other issues came up, and I was just down. I was so down mentally, and I said, "Well, you know what? There's others that are going through this, so I got to get out of this slump and be there for them and help build them up and use them to build me up. So we got to stay together. We got to fight this fight together." And I shared that on Tuesday last week was MSA Day. So I got on and do the live video. I don't usually do live. We usually, we just record, we do audio. And I got on live and I said, I told, this is MSA Day. I had catheter issues. I've had vocal issues. I've had mobility issues. But I know that there's others that are out there that do too. So come on, let's build this crusade up together. And we are MSA Crusaders. So let's share our story, and let's find a cure for this.
What's something, Daisy, as we close today, what is something that you want to share with the next generation of, let's say, MSA Crusaders who are going through this and they just want to pull from a source of inspiration and confidence? What would you tell them?
Tell them you have to be strong. You have to fight this as hard as you can and enjoy the life you have. Um, my son took me to Florida this summer. Go and do what you can while you can and be strong to know that maybe one day they're going to find a cure for this disease. They're really close. One of the trials I signed up for, I told you I just was applying to every trial out there, was that it was brain surgery that involved putting good proteins into your putin, which is in your brain, your putin in your brain, and it takes over the bad neurons or proteins that are in the brain and replaces them with good ones. So it's supposed to give you your mobility and everything back. And I hope, I have no, I'm scared to death by the sound of brain surgery, but if it works, that would be awesome. I would love to get what I say, me back again.